we're going to go through a few things around sort of like the differences and bits and pieces like that. So I'm Charlotte. I work in the Student and Education Equality, Diversity and Inclusion team. And my role is around sort of helping students, helping our staff understand our students better. And I'm going to say thank you for joining me. I'm running this session because in our team, we have a number of people who are actually taking master's degrees at the moment. I actually have two because I feel like I'm a glutton for punishment in the best way. I wasn't going to do one initially. And then I decided that once I started doing them, timing and everything, suddenly I was like, oh, I could go back and I could do a master's degree, and it totally changed my whole career path, to be quite honest. So I did an undergraduate degree in art history at Aberystwyth University many years ago. I don't want to give away how long ago that was. And then I got into just working different places. I ended up working in a bank, and I got made redundant, and I got the opportunity to do a master's in museum studies. And I'd always wanted to do a master's in museum studies. And it had been 7 years between me doing my undergraduate and me getting back into education and doing that. And once I did that, I decided that I wanted to do a PhD, and I applied and I did various different things. And then I ended up doing another master's degree. I did a master's by research in MRes in labour market studies, which you might think, why would you do that? It's a strange subject. It was a strange subject, but it actually allowed me to still study museums and things like that. And that then gave me a lot more sort of a rounded education to start my PhD. And I did a part-time PhD in sociology, which took me quite a while, but it got me where I am today. And I use that on a daily basis. So everything that I've learned about inclusion, I've learned through my PhD in sociology. So just to give you a bit of background, as like, you can ask me all sorts of questions. I did both my master's degrees by distance learning at Leicester, but I also worked at Leicester. So I know the campus backwards. So if you're interested, if you want to know about support and things like that, just shout out. So pop questions in the chat as we go, and we'll be able to. I'll either answer them as we go, or I'll get to them at the end, and we'll get to know each other and find out what we're doing. So that is me. That is my experience of like postgraduate study in general. And we'll go through some of the things that you can do at Leicester as well while you're with us. Now, it doesn't matter if you're on campus or not. There's a lot of these will apply to both of you, or both methods of study. So we're going to cover things like perks of being a master's student, to make sure that you're going to get the most out of being a student with us. And basically then things about Leicester, because you might not be from Leicester, you might be coming to us fresh. Again, let me know, are you travelling to us, are you commuting in, or are you moving to Leicester to start this, or are you distance learning? And we've got some useful apps for you. So there's a little bit of repetition from some previous sessions, and I can signpost you to those if you want to watch them as well. But I just want to make sure you're going to get the most out of this. So I think I've put this up already. We're doing say hello, introduce yourself in the chat. What are you looking forward to? I can see that someone's already said, looking forward to getting back into it. It is quite scary. It can be, don't be afraid, I was going to say, especially if it's been a gap. It can feel quite daunting, especially when you're faced with that first piece of assessment and you're thinking, I've not done an assessment for a while. How do I do this? There is a lot of support out there. My first assessment after 7 years, when I came back and had to write an essay, I have to say, I think it was awful. It passed, but it wasn't the best. And there are a lot of things that I could have reached out more, but I think nobody told me this, basically. So feel free to ask as much as you like. And how confident do you feel about starting a master's course? We've got I had put a question in. We've got sort of like, oh, I'm quite excited, a bit nervous. All of that. It is exciting, and I think it's a little bit addictive. If well, it is for me anyway. So just sort of let us know and see what's going on. But you made it. You did it. You're a master's student with us. You are a student. You get all the perks of being a student. and all of the excitement of learning new things as we go along. So congratulations, you made it. You made it onto a master's degree. We're just going to cover a bit of jargon because quite often I realise that there's all these sort of words and terminology, and if you think of anything else while we go, let me know. That we use when we're talking about students. So the different degrees that we do at different levels, well, mostly at master's level, we have the MA. So you might be doing an MA, you might be doing a Master of Arts. This is very similar to the undergraduate sort of way of looking at things, but we've got a couple more in there that are slightly different. So you've got the MSc, so Master of Science, the MRes, which is a Master's by Research. So that one, if you haven't heard of that one, basically we can do, you can just, sorry, my words have gone from me now. So Masters by Research is more focused on research methods, which is what I mentioned earlier. I did one in labour market studies. It didn't really matter that it was in labour market studies. The content itself, basically, was more focused on the methods itself, and then the dissertation was bigger. So most, and I say most very cautiously because it's not true for a lot of master's degrees, have a dissertation of around sort of 15,000 words, which is a bit more than before. Some have a dissertation, like Masters by Research has a dissertation of 30,000 words. So it's a bigger block of research you do at the end, and you have more time to do that part. So the talk part is smaller. I'm just going to pause for a second and I will be right back. So other terminology, we have postgraduate and postgrad, so that's used quite often, and that can be referring to anyone who has already done an undergraduate degree or who has graduated already, so post-graduation. And postgraduate talks about master's degrees. Postgraduate research is that PhD afterwards, that the PGR, we call them PGRs sometimes. So you might see PGT on your ID badge, your student card, or on things that refer to parts of your course. And so PGR is if you're doing a PhD. So if you're doing a PhD, we've got a session about that at the moment. So yeah, PGT is what you're looking for, postgraduate talk courses. So what's different about the courses that you're on? So the first thing is, I think it's more independent study. So it feels like it should be a continuation of your undergraduate degree. It's more specialised. You are focusing in on a particular subject. So, for example, I can see somebody is doing occupational psychology, so may have done psychology in the past. Now you're going to look at the occupational part of it. Mine were a bit different. So I did art history, and then I did a slightly different specialised master's degree. So that's the other thing. You can deviate into a slightly different area of expertise as well. Excuse me. So you get more freedom, you get a bit more choice in what you're learning. So you might have more modules that you can choose from different areas, and you can just specialize what it is you're studying. So you will still have some core modules to make sure that you've got everything there, but you will have some sort of like some of those specialisms. And then when you come to do your dissertation, that part of it is really sort of, I want to say from the heart, it's going to be something that you are really interested in. And it could be something that you studied before or you find out while you're on the course as well. So it could be that you find out that, you're really interested in a particular thing you've been learning about and you want to study that a bit further. The other thing is it's not just about saying, I have learnt X or Y. Undergraduate can be very much sort of like showing how you've learned something, showing that you know it. Whereas at master's level, you're starting to put your own opinion in there. You're starting to show that you understand slightly different concepts. So it's really good to sort of take that into account as you go through. You're putting your arguments together, and you're able to do that a bit more, basically. So you're able to put your opinion across in your work. Obviously, you need to show that, prove it for everyone else. But you can put through sort of like, this is what I believe in, this is what I think of this, and this is why. Here's my evidence. It's obviously a shorter time frame. We do cram more work in for you, sadly. I'd say if you are part-time, that does work out quite nicely. If you're working alongside, you want to think about sort of like how you're going to manage your time. But that shorter time frame, it does condense it. It's not one academic year, it's one calendar year as well. So I think sometimes we think in academia, we do think just about that sort of like, it's September to June, July time, but actually you're going to have all summer to write your dissertation. So it is one calendar year. And there is longer word count. So it might be that you do fewer modules, a bit more intense. Your assessments, if you're used to doing sort of like, 3,000, 5,000 word assessments, you might be looking at longer than that. You might be that you're not even writing assessments at all. So it could be doing something quite different there. So bear that in mind as well when you're doing it, sort of like you do need more detail in there. You're going to be taught new methodologies, so things you've never heard of. You're going to be able to learn so much more. So it's going to be quite a lot to take in. It might feel overwhelming, but if it does, do speak to somebody. We've got a lot of people out there who want to help you. So you get perks as well. And one of the things I want to make sure is that you are going to get lots and lots of perks, and you're going to make the most of these. So we have a postgraduate student officer in the Students' Union who is there to represent you in all things university, and a distance learning student officer. So depending on, you might use both of them. It might be a distance learning and postgrad, or it might be that you just pick the one you need if you do need them. So they might send you lots of information. They might just basically help you with any issues that's going on, any changes and things like that. We have the Postgraduate Student Society as well. So they organise get-togethers. So if you're new to Leicester and you're thinking, how do I make friends? Because you might not be in halls, you might be living separately, and you might think, how am I going to find out what's going on? Obviously, you've got lots going on in your department, but you might want to go for the Postgraduate Student Society as well. All their information is online. And then you've got specific study rooms in the library as well. So there is a master's study room, which is swipe card access using your ID badge. And that just means that, you've got a dedicated space that you can spend time in. And the University of Leicester community generally. So it's usually a lot going on. It's a short amount of time to get to know a place. And I think that's the thing. We want you to hit the ground running and find out what's going on and what you can do with it. Other perks, so things that aren't necessarily within the university, but can be very, very useful. So you have council tax discounts. If you are renting a house, regardless of where you are, if you are a full-time student, you can get a discount on your council tax. And that comes in the form of, if you're living on your own, you don't pay council tax. If you are sharing with somebody else, if it's one other person, you can get like an 80%, 20% discount. So that person technically is only paying 80% of it. Sadly, if there's more than 3, or if there's 3 or more people living in the house and only one of you's a student, sadly it doesn't count. But do look out for that, because it is a really useful thing if you're looking at where you can save money, because you might be working less, or just trying to be a full-time student. You also qualify for all the student discounts. Don't think that because you're not an undergraduate anymore that it doesn't qualify. You qualify for all of these. So make sure that you are getting as much out of it as you can. That you've got uni days. There's the student money savers session. If you've not seen it already, it's on Blackboard and you can have a watch of that. And it's got that applies to you as well. Plus things like travel discounts, and all sorts of things like that. So bus tickets if you've got to commute into university, or rail cards, you can get your student discount on that. So you might need to, sometimes you do obviously need to pay for it, but I think it's something like £30 for a rail card, and then you get about 15% discount. So do your maths and work out if that's going to be beneficial for you. And the one that everyone forgets, that if you are a full-time student, you can get exemptions from NHS prescription costs. There is a form for that. If you look it up, if you Google it, there's a form you can fill in. You might need to get someone at the universities to stamp it to say, yes, I'm a student. But again, it could really help you out in that year. So make sure that you've got all of those in place, because they're not necessarily obvious when you get started, but it can really help. So I mentioned like all these aspects are there for you as well. So with the Students' Union, that is also, it's also for you. I think I'm going to say it's also for you quite a lot in this session. Societies, there is the Postgrad Society, but other societies are still open for you as well. So if there's something you're really interested in, then get involved. Get involved, join the society, go to the socials, join a sports team if that's what you want to do. It's all there. We have a volunteering team as well if you want to get experience in different areas. The Students' Union has also got all the food outlets. Not quite all the food outlets. There's most of the food outlets are actually in there. And they've got a little vegan cafe down there too, which has the most amazing bao buns in it. And like lots of different things. You've got soul food, so Caribbean food. We've got loaded fries. We've got bubble tea. You name it. If you've not tried it, go and explore and have a little try. And there's also the wellbeing hub as well. So, like I said, if you're getting to that point where you're thinking, oh, I feel a little bit like cautious about doing this, I'm a little bit nervous, go and visit the wellbeing hub, because it might be that you meet someone else who's in the same position and you're thinking, you can be a bit shy and a bit nervous about things together, and it makes you feel a little better about it. Or you can get some support if you're really struggling with it. So do go down there too. Now, I briefly mentioned sports, but we have full sports facilities, and you will get the student rates on all of those as well. So we've got 2 gyms, one the Daniel Brown Sports Centre, which is on main campus, and one which is up at the village which is about a mile or so away, I think. Maybe over a mile. It doesn't take too long to walk to. It might be that you're living up there anyway, or if you do have transport, you can just go and visit the Roger Bettel Sports Centre and everything that's up there. So they've got more space. So they've got running tracks and all sorts of things like that. You can pop into the Daniel Brown Sports Centre and they will help you out with any sort of like joining. They have got a website as well, which I'll put in the chat a little bit later. So Sports at Leicester, basically. And you can join other teams. There is a program called Let's Do Leicester as well, which means you can try things out. So yesterday we were talking about pickleball, which is brand new, and it's a cross between squash and something else, squash and badminton, I think. And they're doing taster sessions on that. So if you fancy trying something new, they can help you out too. So we've got a lot going on at the start of term on campus if you want to get involved in those. And then if you are new to the city, or you're going to be commuting in, do not discount what's going on in the city. Leicester is a lovely place, and I feel like I'm biased because I did grow up here, but it's only 15 minutes from campus into the city. So, or depending on where you're staying, it's quite easy to get in there. We have food. We have a lot of different food. So if you want to explore different cultures and different cuisines, we have all the food in Leicester. It's a very big thing, the food culture. So even just walking down London Road, which is near the university, all the way down into the city centre, you can try almost anything. We also have a lot of cafes which have lots of like dessert places as well. Absolutely amazing. So we have lots of festivals. We have the biggest Diwali festival outside of India in Leicester, and that's been going for, I think it's 25 years at least now. They were advertising it the other day, so that will take place sort of November time. But we do have Caribbean Carnival, Eid on the Park. There's all sorts of, around Easter, there is a parade through the city centre as well, which is like the Passion Parade. There's Sikh parades that go through, Hindu parades. It's a beautiful place. Everyone goes and visits and sort of takes part and has fun with it. So you very rarely get told, no, you can't come and do this. Everyone just goes. Successful sports teams, if you're into sports, you can get tickets for the football or the rugby or even the cricket. They're all very close to the university and the city centre. So if you want to take part in that, actually, I should not forget the basketball as well. I think one of the things we don't have is ice hockey. That's Nottingham, but we do have quite a lot of sports that you can go and have a look at and join in, basically. We've got everything shopping-wise from big brands. We've got the High Cross Shopping Centre, and then we've got the lanes, which are all the sort of bespoke little shops. They've got quirky outlets, yeah. So independent retailers and things like that. But there's so much to see. There's museums and all sorts. Some are free, some will charge. Don't forget to get your student discount if you do go into the ones that charge. Going back onto campus, I just want to stress this even more. Student support is also for postgrads. So don't think, I'm not sure I can access that. Is that for me? It is for you as well. So if you are working late on campus, we have 24/7 security. There is an app called Safe Zone, which is on this list as well. So there's apps you can download and you can basically log where you are on campus if you're there late and you think, does anyone know I'm here? And it just sort of alerts security that you're maybe sat in the back of the library with not many people around, or working in a lab if you're doing an MSc. We have counselling services if you need those. The chaplaincy is a multi-faith chaplaincy, so if you want some sort of faith-based support, then go and see them. They'll be around on campus during freshers, so you'll be able to find out what's going on there. You'll get allocated a personal tutor, so you'll always have that academic support as well. Do go and see them. Make the most of your personal tutor. Don't feel like you're sort of wasting their time, or, you know, oh, is this really a big enough question? Please do go and speak to them. Even if it's sort of like, well, what kind of referencing am I doing? How does this work? You know, they're there. That's what they're there for. We do have some mentoring programs. So depending on what it is that you're doing, you might find that there's some mentors that can help you out on that, but your personal tutor will be able to point you in the right direction. And if you have a disability, or if you're dyslexic or anything like that, we have our accessibility service. So if you think I might need extra time on a particular thing, if it's an assessment, a timed assessment, they're the people that you want to talk to. Now, quite often we find that there's some people, like people who've been out of education for a while, might not realise that you're dyslexic. There is a test you can take just to check, and that is through our accessibility service. They can send you it's a paper form essentially, and that will just give them an idea about whether you might be dyslexic or not. So if that's something that's been sort of preying on your mind and you're like, well, actually do have trouble with that, now's a really good time to get in touch with them and just say, can you help me with this? I think this might be the case, because there might be more funding available to you as well. So it's good to know. So yeah, the main message, it's out there. Explore it. Explore Leicester, explore the university, explore the services that are available to you. And if you're not sure, there is an information hub in the library, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. So if you're like, who do I talk to about? Go and talk to them. And it's just occurred to me, it's like, I've not mentioned the career service yet. So the career service will work with you as a student and afterwards as well. So if you're sure on what you're doing, brilliant. If you're thinking, you know what can I do with this? Or what kind of support can I get? Do I need to rewrite my CV? Do I need to do this? They will help you with that. And then even after you graduate, they'll help you out too. So here's feels like quite a lot. Here's a list of the apps that you might want to download. There is a link. I will send you a link to these. There's a list that you can go through. So my UOL, which has things like your timetable. So your timetable should be around by the end of this week, hopefully. They will appear in your email, in your calendar, Outlook calendar. My student record, where you track sort of like you're registered and everything like that. OneDrive, where you can save all your work, so that you can access it from any of the computers on campus. Your library search and things like that. I think your library limit's about 30 books. It's quite a lot. I feel like I want to challenge you to take out as many books as possible, but it might not be necessary, and then you've got to carry them and take them all back. But yeah, you've got quite a generous library limit. And yeah, there's lots and lots of online resources with them as well. There's My Wellbeing, which has got lots and lots of support in all aspects of your life from now. So even if you think, actually, this is a big one, even if you think this isn't anything to do with my course, but I'm really struggling with, talk to somebody at the university. Don't feel like you've got to segment life and study as well. And then Safe Zone, for if you're on campus and you are, it's got a first aid button, it's got an emergency button, and you can ask for help. Here we go. I mentioned that the cat may be joining us, and she has. So Wi-Fi, one of the biggest perks of being a student generally is free Wi-Fi. So EduRoam is a university Wi-Fi, which actually covers most universities in the UK and sometimes in Europe as well. So basically, once you have to come onto campus to set it up. Obviously, you find it. If you get stuck setting it up, the information hub in the library will be able to help you. They'll point you to IT, and they will sit there and they will make sure your phone is on it, or your laptop and everything, and make sure that's all sorted out. you do need to use your university email address. So that is the one that might be abc123@student.le.ac.uk. And once you're on it, obviously, unless you change your password, in which case you'll have to relog on, it will automatically connect you to that. So no matter where you are, you'll find sometimes in unexpected places that you're on the Wi-Fi. So hospitals, for example, if it's a teaching hospital, it usually has EduRoam. So if you unfortunately find yourself in A&E for any reason, then you'll be able to at least get free Wi-Fi while you're there, which is a bit of a perk. Same with things like visiting other university cities or towns. You find yourself in a cafe and suddenly you're on the Wi-Fi. So it is incredibly useful. I did some research in Oxford and I sat in a cafe and I didn't realise I was close enough to one of the Oxford colleges and picked up on the Wi-Fi, which was brilliant. The other thing, if you are on campus, campus is cashless. But if you want to budget and get sort of like loyalty points and things like that in the cafes, then you can use UPay Rewards. So that is another app that you can download. Gives you lots of discounts. It does things like, buy 6 coffees, get 1 free. Or if you just want a budget. So if you're like, you know what, here's my £20 and this is going to last me the month, I'll put that on UPay and I'll use that on campus. And that's what I've got, for example. So yeah, you can just scan your phone to pay on that as well. And you might want to work while you are studying, because student finance, if your finance through this, doesn't cover everything. We know a lot of our students work. We have got a university employment agency called Unitemps, and they have ad hoc work, they have temporary things, they have all sorts of things. It could be working in the library or in a cafe or something like that on campus, and they will make sure it fits around your studies as well. There is a limit to how many hours you can work a week. I believe it's 15 hours. If you're an international student, that could depend on what's on your visa. But there are all sorts of things. So you can really sort of play to your strengths if you need sort of that little top up. There are obviously things outside the university, but they might not be quite as sympathetic to your studying hours or timetable and things like that. So Unitemps is a really good one. And we do make sure that you are paid above national minimum wage. It's usually living wage, but it does depend on your age as well. Or the role, actually. We've recruited all sorts of students through that to do little bits of work for us. So, any questions? I think while you may be typing, I am just going to update you on what's going on next, and then I'll stop the recording and we'll go back to the questions. So tomorrow we have a session between 11 and 12, which is effective reading and note-taking. And then tomorrow afternoon, 4 till 5, if you're a distance learning student, how to use the library as a distance learning student. So if you can't get in physically, how does that work? So they are through the website. And then if you are arriving on campus soon, to be honest, even if you're not staying in our accommodation, if you are in Leicester, start of term, Friday to Sunday, we have lots of stalls and different things going on campus. Get a city tour, get a campus tour, find out what's going on and meet a whole bunch of people. So no matter where you're living, when you arrive, you are able to come along to that as well. So we will go back to the questions. So I'll stop the recording